Hello, how are you? Hope you're really well. It's Yasmin here. How's life? Am I the only one who's been having a really, really intense time? I just keep surrendering and surrendering and surrendering some more and working with the goddess Kali to clear away any dramas, and still I'm getting this crazy energy from the other side of the world. I just don't understand it. I don't know what to do about it, except I'm just going to do the only thing I can do, which is continue to surrender. So that was actually what I thought I'd talk about today, is the idea of surrender. So does surrender, if someone's giving you a hard time, for example, does surrender mean hands up, I give in? No. No, that's not what surrender means. Surrender actually means that you're handing over your issues to the divine. Literally, so I don't know if I've told you this story before. I may have done, stop me if I'm repeating myself, as they say. But years ago, I was my husband and I were living with my son, who at that time was about 18 months old. We were living in Bondi Beach in a tiny little one-bedroom flat, which was absolutely gorgeous. It was an old Art Deco flat that I'd bought when I was single, before I met my husband, Olivier. And, it was just gorgeous, but it was tiny. We could see the beach and all that, but it was tiny. Anyway, so eventually after, when you have kids and the toys all build up. And so eventually after a few years, after 18 months of having our son there, we decided it was time to size up. And we looked around for a place, and we looked in, and we ended up seeing two places in particular. And one was in, I don't remember what street it was in now. I think it was Wairoa Avenue, for anyone who's from Bondi and knows Bondi, and the other was in Glasgow Avenue. So the one in Wairoa Avenue, I kind of got really attached to, which is never a good idea when you're manifesting. And I was kind of obsessing about it. Oh my God, I really want this place. It's going to be amazing. I could just see, I could just see how it could be used and all this. And I was really intense on it. And I think I might have even gone back round to see it and come across the owner and being like, oh, I really want your place. And she probably thought, oh my God, she's mad. And then we saw the other place in Glasgow Avenue, which I also liked a lot, but, it hadn't hit me the same way. So at the viewing of the second place, it was actually wall-to-wall people. And literally, I don't know if you've ever been to a viewing in Sydney. I don't think it happens in London, but in Sydney, especially in a place like Bondi, sometimes you'll get a place that everybody wants and it's just packed out. And it was a gorgeous place. It was like 1 block from the beach, and so on and so forth. So, and I overheard someone offering $50 a week over the asking price. I thought, oh my God, people are really going for this. And so what I did was I went home and I applied for both of them, and I really left it open, but I did also, make my own little effort. I added I said to them, I will offer $50 a week over the asking price, because I thought, well, I know someone else is doing that. I might as well do that, and we can afford to do it, so I might as well. And then, a girlfriend rang up. I may have told this story before, but a girlfriend of mine from India rang up, who lives at the ashram that I've been going to on and off. And she said, Yasmin, I said, I don't know what to do. I really like this place, but this place is really good. And what if we don't get any of them? And oh my God, it doesn't sound really good for the one I really had my eye on. So what am I going to do? And she said, Yasmin, what did she say? You already know what I'm going to say. She said, surrender it to the divine. Surrender it to the divine. So I said, okay. And I always remember this because it was quite an unusual thing to say. She said, Yasmin, just say to the divine, Shakti, Divine Mother, Lakshmi, this is your problem now. Which is kind of a really weird thing to say to the divine, don't you think? And I said, okay, fine, I'll do that. And I did exactly as she said, okay? And so what happened was that we didn't get the place that I had gone crazy about. I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 no. But then, literally like an hour after we got told we didn't have that place, which by the way, I think I slightly pushed away by like what Gabby Bernstein calls manic manifesting. But the other place, which I was much cooler about, I did like it, you know, I'd made the offer, I liked it enough to up the rental offer, but I was like, okay, well now we'll see, you know, otherwise we're back to square one. And we got that one, and we got it. Now, what happened next? We moved in. What happened next? We had an amazing time living there, and my husband kept going, we should buy this place, we should buy this place, we should buy this place, because eventually we thought, okay, we've got to buy a house. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure. Without a word of a lie, one day I was sitting in, I'm going to give you actions now. If you're listening on SoundCloud, you won't be able to see this, but I was sitting on the couch in the living room with my husband, not talking about anything. I think we were watching TV. And suddenly I stood up, and he's like, what is it? And I said, we should buy this place. You're right. We should buy this place. We'd been there about, I don't know, 2 years by then. And he's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I agree. We should definitely buy it. You know, it's a good time to buy and all that. Actually, the market was going down. It was around the time of the Lehman Brothers crash. And anyway, we were going overseas about a week later, and we'd organised friends to come and look after it while we were away. The day I was leaving, I was at my desk in my office there in Bondi. Phone rang. It's the estate agent. And I'm like, he's like, oh, I'm like, hi, Andre, how are you? Yeah, good, thanks. How are you? Good. And he said, what are you up to? And I said, well, we were literally about to go to the airport and to go to France for 3 months, because Louis was 18 months old and we could spend all our summers in Europe, which was really nice. And now we do too. And he said, oh, okay, it's just that the owners have decided to put the house on the market. I'm like, what? We're going away tomorrow for 3 months. And he's like, well, I'm sorry, but they've decided to put the house on the market, and we need to come round and take photos and all that. I'm like, well, we're going to France. I think it was today. I said, but don't worry, we've got some friends who are going to be looking after the place, watering the plants and all that. So, you know, they'll help you out. So anyway, off we trot to France, and really just thinking, what are we going to do? And again, like I said, with the first place, we kind of ended up manic manifesting, because I was like, I want this place, I want this place, I want this. When you're like that, it's almost like you go into a space where all you're actually doing is affirming that you don't have something. All right, so that's why you want to surrender it and go, you know what, whatever's best for my highest good, this is your problem now, divine, if you want to use those terms. The girlfriend of mine who said that, she's lived at the ashram for like 15 years, so I think she knows what's okay and what's not okay to say to the divine. That's what she said. Anyway, so off we went, and I said, okay, I surrender to the divine, whatever's meant to be will be, let's wait and see. And then what happened was we went to France and had this amazing time, and kind of forgot about, you know, the fact that our house was being sold from underneath us, or was being shown. And every now and then we'd call our friends and say, so they had any showings? Oh yeah, they had a couple of people through. Nothing too much happening. And then the long and the short of it is that basically they didn't get any offers whatsoever, because I think they were asking a bit too much, and there'd just been this crash, this Lehman Brothers crash, and all the property was right down. And so eventually I got in touch with the guy, the owner, direct, and because I knew him, because, you know, he was our landlord. And I said, well, what about if we make you an offer? And I actually did this. You know, you guys, a lot of you saw where I went on holidays in France this year to the lake. I was in the lake, except instead of being in that really cool chalet that we were in this year, it was back in the days before we had the chalet, we were actually in a tent. And it was a nice tent, but it was a tent. And I was lying in the tent, messaging, text messaging this guy in Australia. I basically bought the house over the phone. So we bought the house. And then we moved in there, back in there, because it was now our house, and, you know, probably had a housewarming party, and then, you know, lived in it very happily for quite a few years. And I'll tell you the last thing, eventually we sold it, and just in the nick of time, we didn't even know that, in fact, had we not sold it, because we'd been spending so much time in England, we actually legally had to sell it. I wouldn't have sold it otherwise. And we just missed out on, you know, basically getting into big trouble. You know, it was a long story, and I never want to go too far into my finances, but basically we were within about 7 days of having had to pay a great big chunk of money that we didn't want to pay, obviously, because we didn't owe it. And we got this offer on the house, and it was about 10,000 less than the agent had told me to expect. And I was like, oh, I don't know. It was the first offer. They hadn't even put it in the paper yet. And I was like, oh, and I just thought, you know what, tune in. So I tuned into my body. And I said to my husband, Olivier, every bone in my body is telling me to sell. He went, okay, fine, we'll sell. Sold. And that was the week the market turned again. It was the peak of the market, and then all the house prices went down from there. So to me, that was a classic example of what happens when you surrender. I thought I wanted that first place. You know, I was kind of obsessed with it. This place I was more like, yeah, I like it. It's nice. You know, it would be nice. It turned out to be the most amazing place. We had the most amazing, amazing times there with our friends, with family. You know, my dad, before he passed away, he'd come every week. We had a family dinner there every week. And, you know, we had parties, and we were big on doing afternoon teas back in those days because the kids were all so young. You know, it was just the loveliest place. And it just shows you when you surrender something to the divine, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get exactly what you think you want, okay? You're going to get what is for your highest good, all right? So when do we surrender? Every day, 24/7. But especially if you're into the moon cycle, you want to surrender at full moon and at the dark moon, which is the last part of the lunar cycle, okay? And I will be teaching you about surrender in the Moonology Manifesting course as well, by the way. That is something we're going to do a lot of. We're going to start at the third quarter moon, and we're going to move all the way through the end of the waning cycle, which is absolutely surrender time, through the dark moon, and then we'll get to the new moon, okay? And that's free. That's free. That starts March the 7th. So join me and I don't know how many thousands and thousands of people, and we will talk more about surrender in there as well. That's the moon. The URL is www.moonmessages.com/MMC for Moonology Manifesting Challenge. Join me in there. Take the VIP upgrade if you want private group coaching calls after each session. And and just think about that. Think about that story of surrender. It was such an amazing story, you know, and that's how it goes when you surrender. I've got another story, which maybe I'll tell you tomorrow, about another thing that I really strongly remember just surrendering. So I've got this weird thing in Australia. You know what I'm going to do? I surrender it. Because as someone said, you just never know what the divine has in store. You know, you never know what the divine has in store. Okay, so I guess you guys would like a card. Would you like a card? I actually decided earlier on this morning that I was going to do a Kali card. Are you ready for a Kali card? It's time to break out the Kali cards. All right. These, for those of you who don't know, these are really powerful, borderline scary cards with lots of skulls and crossbones and all the many faces of the goddess Kali, who is the destroyer goddess. And we chant to Kali every day at 10:30 a.m. UK time. Kali is in the hood. All right, who wants a card? Who wants a card? Okay, here's a good question while we're waiting for people to say they want a card. This is a really good question. Okay, so you know when you surrender, does that mean you don't manifest anymore, do any affirmations in the new moon, wishes, etc.? Great question. No, it doesn't mean that. So that's why we do Moonology the way we do it. At the new moon, we set our intentions, make our wishes, and throughout the waxing cycle from new moon to full moon, just go for it, work on it, do your affirmations, do your vision boards, everything that Oprah Winfrey taught us, as I was saying to someone the other day. Do all that stuff, everything you know about manifesting. Hold the vision for 60 seconds, 68 seconds, you know, just basically pour your heart and soul into it. And then as soon as you've had the full moon, just let it go. Let it go and surrender it, okay? And then at the new moon, if you still want it, you can do all that again, but you have to have a period where you hand it over to the divine. So why? For one thing, because as someone said, the divine sometimes has better ideas. For another thing, it's like an insurance policy because, you know, just say if we'd have bought that other house, we'd rented that other flat rather that I was so kind of obsessed with. You know, the woman there, as far as I'm aware, still lives there. We never would have had a chance to buy it. You know, it was, and you know, we made so much money on that place. Like, sorry, I don't know if you find that vulgar to say that, but we really did because we bought it when the market was really low and we sold it when the market was really high. You know, and that again was just surrender. You know, so you just don't know. And, you know, you know, if you've got money issues, you think, oh, money, she's talking about money. Well, you know, at the end of the day, we had to buy another house. So the money that we got, we were able to use again for the family. It's not like I'm doing immoral things with my money, just saying. Okay, so are you ready for, oh goodness. It's one of the scary ones. Are you ready? Dhumavati Kali. All right, let's look her up. There's no hiding from Kali. What have we got here? Well, it's kind of what we're talking about. I have to say all the indications I'm getting are, anyway, I won't say that, but blah, blah. So, yeah, this is the beloved mother who dwells in the smoke and presides over the most difficult transitions. She knows that certain endings are unavoidable. They are necessary precursors to radical reinvention. Her presence brings the message that disappointment, defeat, or loss and the negative repercussions of such experiences may cause suffering for a time. They will not limit your future happiness. They are a means for opening as yet unrecognized pathways for fulfillment. Your trust must be unconditional at this time, and later you shall see that everything is worked out for the highest good. You know what? I hate to say it, but I think I know what that means for this problem in Australia. I think we'll see now, but... Or maybe it's just the ending of the difficult times. You never know. Time will tell, guys. Time will tell. So there we go. You ask Kali, you get an answer. All right, I am going to end it there. Thank you for listening. Make sure you join me for the free manifesting challenge. I'm sending you lots and lots of love. And I'm going to end with 3 Om Namo Narayanis, the chant, and I'm going to surrender this situation I'm in to the divine. Divine, it's your problem now. It's your problem now, divine. All right, so here we go. Om Namo So there we go. I just like to say today is the day I finish writing the first draft of my new Oracle deck. And I'll be doing my Chat It's Fate column, which I'm very much excited about because I love writing for Chat It's Fate. That's in the UK. And yeah, have a beautiful, beautiful day. And I'll see ya tomorrow.